Hi guys, welcome back to the Knitting Expat Podcast. My name is Mina and I'll be your host today. It has been a while since I've recorded. I did not expect to miss recording an episode last week. Things just happened and things have been a bit busy and a bit hectic since we've been back in the UK, and so things have just been taking some time to settle back in. But yeah, so my name is Mina. Like I said, I'm coming to you from my parents' home in London, where we are currently living. If you haven't been following the podcast for a while, or if you're new, my husband and I and our daughter Layla have recently moved back to the UK. There's some visa stuff going on in the background, but we're hoping to get back to our home in New York, or move back to New York later this year if all things go well. But we will see. There is nothing is certain at the moment, so we're in a bit of a state of limbo for the next few months until we figure stuff out. But until then, this will probably become my more regular podcasting location for the foreseeable future. I'm actually recording in what used to be my parents' attic or loft. I don't know what you call that in the US, but they recently finished renovating their whole house, so there's a lot more space now, and they've renovated and extended into the loft area. So the loft area is actually now my brother's bedroom slash his sort of mini apartment. Is the only thing the loft is missing is a kitchen, and it would be its own sort of self-contained little apartment. But yeah, so I'm up here now and he's at work, so I can use the space. We actually have, Perry and I have a desk in his room just because it's the only place we can put it where Layla can't get to stuff. She doesn't really come up here very often, or if she does, she's definitely supervised because my brother has stuff all over the place. But yeah, so we've just got a nice view out over the garden, which I will show you so you guys can see. So yeah, down there is my parents' garden. That's the park behind their house, and yeah, it's just really nice and green. And today's a really nice sunny day, so yeah, making the most of it. It's quite cold here. It really does feel like it's going to snow. It's that kind of cold, and it has been snowing in other parts of the UK, just not down in London where we are. And yeah, Layla's having a nap right now. Layla is my baby, if you're not sure, or if you're new, I mean. And so I'm just making the most of it and trying to get this podcast recorded. If you haven't been able to tell, I am not feeling particularly great today. I woke up, well actually since yesterday I've been feeling really under the weather, and luckily Perry was working from home yesterday, so he was able to watch Layla for a couple of hours so I could get some rest. But today I'm on my own. Perry's actually had to go to Dublin for some work stuff today and tomorrow, and he'll be back tomorrow afternoon. But yeah, so it's just me right now. Well, my dad's home, so actually he helped out a lot today. He's watched Layla for a little bit while I got on with some stuff, and so that was quite nice. That was handy to have a little bit of time to do that. I was able to get set up to do this podcast while my dad watched Layla, because her napping has been a little bit unpredictable lately, which is fine. She's had a couple of new teeth come through recently, and I think she's either teething or she's got a cold as well. At first I thought she was teething, but because I'm also getting sick, I'm starting to wonder if maybe she has a cold. So if she has a cold too, so I'm not entirely sure. She's just really sniffly as well. Today she's been particularly grumpy, just nothing is okay with her. She's just always upset about something. So I think either she's, like I said, either she's teething or she's ill. So her napping's been a bit unpredictable, but I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get through this. I've been jabbering on for about 4 minutes now, and I'm still on the introductions. So the places you can find me online are, I'm most active on Instagram and Ravelry. You can find me on Ravelry as Mina Phillip, and on Instagram as Knitting Expat. There is the Knitting Expat Podcast group on Ravelry as well, and I have show notes posted on the knittingexpat.wordpress.com blog website. And all of this stuff is linked down below this video on YouTube, and there's also an episode thread in the Ravelry group where again all this stuff is linked. All the places you can find me are linked, and it's also linked on the show notes as well. So there are 3 places where this video is embedded, where you could be watching it, and all the links will be around the video for you to be able to find me online in other places. I also design and sell knitting patterns on Ravelry, which you can also find linked below. And I do have a Facebook group for the podcast, but honestly I've not posted in there for so long. I'm honestly, I need to have a think about what I want to do with that, because I keep forgetting about it. And yeah, okay, so yeah, so if you are returning, if you are new or you're returning, thank you so much for checking me out. Thank you for coming back. I hope you enjoy what you see, and let's just jump right on in. I don't know if I said the date. Today's Wednesday the 7th of February. This probably won't go up till later today in the evening probably, but we will see. And yeah, we'll jump right in with some announcements. I have a few patterns that have been released. The first pattern in the Cozy collection of sock patterns, if you don't know, I am running 2 sock clubs this year. They're running simultaneously. One is more of an intermediate, one's more of a beginner club, which is the Wanderlust sock club, and that's aimed more at beginner sock knitters who want to branch out beyond just plain vanilla socks. And then there is the Cozy collection, which is slightly more advanced, not drastically more advanced. I definitely still think an experienced beginner sock knitter would be able to handle that, but it'll have some sort of, it'll definitely incorporate some new stitch sort of techniques that you may or may not have come across before, but some of them were new to me as well. So, and I've knit a lot of socks, so that's why I put it in more of an intermediate category. They're not difficult, like I said, but you know, they might need you to refer to the pattern more often, they might need you to pay more attention to your work, or things like that, which is why I've classed these ones as being slightly more intermediate, but they're still pretty fun to do. And the first pattern from that collection has now been released, and those are the Warm and Snug socks. So as you can see here, I'm not sure how well you can see on the camera, but the texture is all on the leg, and so I've done it on the front and back of the leg, and I've excluded it on the foot. And for one very specific reason is that the texture are these welts, and they can be quite like hard to the touch, not like they're not uncomfortable, and it's perfectly smooth on the inside. There's no bumps or anything on the inside. The fabric on the inside that's against your skin is completely smooth, so it's very comfortable to wear, but it gives that effect of like slightly ruched sort of socks, which is quite fun, and it works really well for self-striping yarns. Ideally 3 to 5 row stripes would work best, but you can do it with thicker stripes. You could always just do the welt on the center, like 4 or 5 rows of a wider stripe if that's what you wanted to do. I've also seen this being knit up on speckled and variegated yarns, and it's looking amazing. It looks good on all kinds of yarns. That's kind of why I liked it, but I also liked it specifically because there aren't a whole lot of patterns out there that are great to be used with self-striping. So I always try to include some sort of self-striping element to one of my designs, or at least one of my designs in these sort of collections, just so that there is something for those of you who definitely want to use self-striping. And it knits up really fast, really fun, and it's really sort of highlights some of the stripes there like that. And so the yarn I use for this one is by the Cozy Knitter. This is on her Bliss base in the Spectrum colorway, which is this lovely rainbow colours. Because of course, why would I do anything else but a rainbow? So that's those. And the heel, because I get asked this a lot when I post photos of my socks. The heel itself is my German short row heel, knit in garter stitch, and it also includes my modified heel flap adjustment. So this is included in all of my sock patterns now. And this one I just knit the heel. The instructions are always provided for stockinette, so you would be purling the wrong side rows, but to do the heel in garter you just knit every row. It is just as simple as that. You just don't do the purls, you do knits instead. And just again, I sometimes get questions about how the German short row heel looks. For me, it does look different on the 2 sides. So one side looks like this and the other side looks like that. You can see they look different, but honestly, it's on your foot. No one's going to see, no one's going to notice that, and it wears perfectly fine, in my opinion. Like, I've not had any issues with heels blowing out on any of my socks, to be honest, so far. So there's that. That's the first pattern. You can't buy this on its own yet. It is only available as part of the club until the end of this year. And then from January of next year, all the patterns that are part of these 2 clubs will be available for individual purchase as well. Then the next design that is now released, as you've heard me yammer on about this a lot, is my mix and match cardigan. I am so happy with this one. This was my first garment design, like adult garment design, and it is now released and it is available for purchase on Ravelry. There's also a matching hat. I just couldn't find that this morning to show you guys, and yeah, I'm really excited about this one, and I'm so happy that so many of you are excited about it too. And I did post a poll on Instagram stories to see if anyone would be interested in doing a knit along for the Mix and Match cardigan, and there seemed to be an overwhelming yes response to that. So I have posted a couple of knit along threads in the group. One is a chatter thread, one's a finished objects thread for knitting the adult Mix and Match cardigan. The rules and everything are in the group, so make sure you go and check that out. And it's a 3-month knit along, or just over 3 months. I think it's running until the 6th of May of this year, which should be plenty of time to knit an adult garment. And you can use either DK or worsted weight. All the details for this are on the pattern page. I've included a lot of information on the pattern page, so please check that page first to make sure that your question isn't already answered before contacting me for information on stuff. Or of course, feel free to contact me if you're having issues with the pattern and anything like that. There are 2 versions available. There's the textured version, which is this one that I've knit, and there's also a version where it's just plain stockinette, and my testers have knit both versions. And you know, this pattern is so customizable. Everyone's sweater turned out differently, and it was amazing. I'm really happy with how everyone's turned out, and yeah, so I'm really excited to start seeing that pop up on Instagram and in the Ravelry group. The hashtag for the knit along is M&M Cardi KAL. If I remember, I will pop it up on the screen here. And also there is a coupon code. The coupon code is intro week, all capitals. Again, I'll try and remember to pop that up on the screen, and that will get you $1.50 off either just the cardigan pattern on its own or the cardigan hat ebook combo price as well. So the ebook is already a discounted price, but with the coupon code you'll get an additional $1.50 off, which I generally don't do. I generally don't offer coupon codes for my ebooks because they're already discounted to begin with. So that's just like a little extra bonus for you guys if you're interested. And that is valid until the end of the day on Sunday the 11th of February. Okay, so that's most of the admin stuff all taken care of. And so now we can move on to the nitty gritty. I am going to pause for a second and just readjust. This table is quite small, so I need to move things around. So I thought I was prepared, clearly not, because I completely forgot to bring any sock blockers up with me today to show you things, but I will do what I can with what I have. So first up, finished objects. I have a pair of Lychee socks, as you can see here. I cast these on for some vanilla sock knitting, and these are knit on 2.25mm US ones, and I used either high sharps or Chiago needles, I can't remember which, probably high sharps for these. And yeah, this is in the Sunset Sonora colorway, and I really like the colors in this one. They're really fun, they're really vibrant, and they'll make a fun pair of gift socks. And it just so happened that when I was knitting on starting them out, that they were sort of offset striping, so you can see this would have been a perfect stripes, but so they're just slightly offset by half a repeat, which I thought was quite fun, and you know, makes them look like they're matching without overly being matchy. And yeah, again, I did my modified heel flap adjustment German short row heel with garter stitch. And the only thing I have to say, Lychee is very soft. It is superwash merino and nylon blend. It is an incredibly cheap sock yarn, comparably to other commercial sock yarns, especially for self-striping. But my one gripe with Lychee, and this is an issue I've always had with Lychee in the past, and probably why I haven't really bought much of it after I first started purchasing it, is that with some of the lighter stripes, first of all, they sort of tend to group together some of the similar colors together, so they all kind of seem to blend into one, where there's actually 2 stripes here, but it doesn't look very distinct. But also the lighter colors, they tend to end up with some splotches from the darker stripes on them, so you can see here there's a very obvious bit there. But even throughout, like, these lighter stripes look quite muddy, which is fine. It's not a big deal. At the end of the day, like I said, it is a fairly inexpensive yarn, so you kind of get what you pay for. And I know people in the past have had issues with knots showing up in their Lychee skeins, and then the colour striping pattern being disrupted because of where the knots have been joined back, you know, where the yarn's been joined back together. But thankfully I didn't have an issue with that with this skein. But again, you can see with the splotchiness in these 2 colours here, most is where it really shows up the most with this one. like I said, it's not bad. These are going to be a pair of gift socks, and you know, I've gifted pretty much all, actually no I have, I've gifted every Lychee sock I've ever knit, and they've always been well received. I've not had any feedback that they've worn through or that they've been damaged in any way or anything's happened to them, so these will be a good pair of gift socks to go into the gift pile for Christmas. But this year I always basically, my gift pile is mostly for Christmas anyway, unless there's like a birthday here or there that I need a present for. But next up I have another sock pattern from this is also from the Cozy Sock Club, so the intermediate pattern collection, and this is out of yarn by Nora George Yarns. I'm trying to get the colour to show up. There we go. And it's in a custom colourway that she dyed called Philip Town, and Philip is spelled like my surname, which I thought was really cute, and this contrasting fun green for the cuffs, heels and toes. I'm not going to show you any more than just this because I don't want to give the pattern away, but needless to say, this yarn was amazing to knit with. It was so lovely, so soft, and the stitch definition is beautiful. Let's see if I can... There you go. It's just really lovely, sort of variegated purple with some specks of greens and yellows in there, which is really beautiful. And what was I trying? Oh, that was on her 75-25 sock yarn base, I believe. Then next up, oh, that was also knit on 2.25mm needles. Okay, so next up I have two finished objects that kind of go hand in hand, and these little baby bonnets, or baby and child bonnet. So these were knit on 3.75mm needles for the brims and 4mm needles for the rest, and 3.75 for the little neck strap as well. So that's a US 5 and US 6. I used 100 Ravens yarn. This is on their worsted base, which is 100% merino wool, superwash, 230 yards and 100 grams, and it's the Wisdom, Justice and Love colourway. This one was part of a knit crate package that I received. So, and from one 100-gram ball I got both hats and this much left over. So one skein of worsted weight yarn will get you 2 hats or 2 bonnets. And so this is the one that's for Layla's size now, and I've put 2 little like fluffy pom-poms on there. What I did was I sewed on some buttons, and I've just sort of bow tied the ends from where I sewed the buttons on so I can take them off later. But these pom-poms were actually, if you've seen any of my Instagram posts with Layla wearing her red bunny jacket, these pom-poms were on the buttons from the bunny jacket, but they were so close to her face, she's just going to try and eat them. So I took them off, and they're just elasticated. They've got like a little elasticated loop on them. So I just pulled that over the button, and that's how I've attached them. So they're not attached permanently, which was intentional because Layla's almost out of this size of bonnet. Like, the size is basically a perfect fit for her right now. And the reason why she's still wearing this size is because she's still in the stroller, she's not walking yet. And this is great for that because there's not a lot of excess fabric around their face, which in the very first iteration of this hat that I knit, the first time I knit it, there was too much fabric around her face, and it just, you know, when she turned her head, it just kept covering her face and getting in the way. So the next size up is probably more suitable for toddlers going up to like children's sizes. To be honest, this fits an adult, but I might even put it on to show you what I mean. But basically, this is great for kids who, like I said, are older, aren't in a stroller anymore, so this gives them a little bit more coverage on the sides of their face, and it's not gonna just sort of like move around as much on their heads. You don't have to use a neck strap for the older one. For older children, you could always knit like an I-cord or braid some yarn, or even attach some ribbon or something to tie it under their necks, under their chin, if you preferred, rather than having a neckband and a button. But what I actually found with the neckband and button, at least for Layla, is I don't actually have to keep undoing the button to put this on. This just stretches over her head and pops on, and the neckband just keeps it secure on her face. So, all right, I'm gonna make a fool of myself and put this on to show you what I mean by this size fits an adult. So yeah. Kind of a one-size-fits-all situation with this one. So you can see this one doesn't come as far forward as it would, say, on a child, but it does the job. It covers your ears, and even the neck strap at this length is fine on me as well. All right, I'm gonna take that off now before I look any more foolish. But it's very easy to modify the depth of the hat. You just knit more or less of this garter section. But there are 2 sizes in the pattern anyway, and the pattern has been tech edited, so this will be coming out fairly soon. I just need to take some pictures for the pattern, and I had actually planned on doing that today because the weather is so nice, but Layla's so grumpy that and because I'm worried that she might be ill, I don't really want to take her outside because while it is sunny, it's very cold. Okay, now we're on to the final finished object, which I am so excited to share with you guys. This is the shawl design that I've been working on since the new year. This was my New Year's Day cast on, and I finished it on Saturday, just gone. So like the 3rd of February, so just over a month it took me to finish this, which in hindsight actually isn't all that bad considering all the craziness that has been going on in January. But yeah, so this is huge. This is massive and definitely sort of big and snuggly and exactly what I had hoped for. Bigger than I expected, but perfect, pretty much what I was hoping for. And I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to show this all to you on camera. I might have to readjust and sort of stand back to show you, but we'll see what I can do. So yeah, here we go. This is what I'm dubbing for now. I'm not 100% set on the name, but I like. Anyway, the name at the moment is the Changes Wrap or Shawl, and because, and you'll see why when you see it, but also because every time I was knitting on it, the song by David Bowie, Changes, kept coming into my head. So that's why I'm calling it the Changes Wrap or Shawl. And this is what it looks like. This is only half of it because, actually I'll open it up. Ooh. So this is one end. Goes all the way across to the other end. I told you this thing is huge, and so it goes from point to point. There's a point at this end. I'm trying to see the best way to show you. My ends are all woven in, I just haven't snipped some of them yet. So you've got a point at this end. You actually start in the middle. You start by knitting this square in the middle. And as you can see, it's very light and airy. You can pretty much see through it. It is so light and airy once it's blocked, but it's like textured all over, and it's so beautifully textured with loads of different stitches. So this is the block you start with in the middle, and then you work outwards from it either side. So then the next up, you have this beautiful sort of waffly texture section, and then you move on to this section, which has some like wrapped slip stitches and stuff, which is really fun. And then the piece turns and you start working in this direction. So you're constantly changing not only directions but colors and stitch patterns, like this hence the Changes name for the shawl, because you're constantly changing what you're doing and it totally keeps you interested. And then this is the last section, which has some sort of garter bumps in the contrasting colors in there. So, and then the same is repeated on the other side, essentially. This thing is huge. I started out with the equivalent of 4 full skeins worth of yarn. So I had 2 full skeins of this colour, and the yarn I used was Primrose Yarn Company. And so 2 full skeins of the main colour, which I'll go over all the colours in a minute. 2 full skeins of the main colour, and then I had 10 20-gram minis for the contrasting colours for the rest of the shawl. And what I had left once I had finished was this. Whoa. And I weighed it, and I actually posted a picture on Instagram stories. It's exactly 25 grams is how much I have left from. And I think the main skeins, the 2 main colour skeins, were actually slightly heavier than 100 grams because they were 4-ounce skeins. So yeah, a lot of yarn went into this. It doesn't create a lot of leftovers. And actually what I'm going to do with the leftovers is create a couple of tassels to put onto the points at the end. Just pop on the points at the end of the shawl as well to finish it off, and that's the final finishing touch. Oh, and the other best thing about it is that this shawl is completely finished with I-cord all the way around. And before you start groaning, you do it all as you go, so there is no finishing at the end. Once you're done, you're done. And yeah, so I'm not sure how well you can see, but there's I-cord all the way around. So you actually only have 4 edges total that you bind off in I-cord. So the first edge you bind off in I-cord is up here, and it's just this long. Then you have this edge here, which you bind off in I-cord, and then the same on the other side. And at no point throughout this entire shawl, for the majority of this shawl, you have less than 100 stitches on your needle at any one time. The only time you have more than that is in this section with this sort of waffly texture, and even then it's less than 200 stitches. So you never have that many stitches on the needle to get such a huge shawl, which makes it very manageable, I think, and it's really, really fun. I'm so excited by it. I knit this all on US 5s, 3.75mm needles. I'm making a couple of adjustments based on how this has turned out in the pattern. For one thing, I'm going to make it slightly narrower, just because, like I said, I only had 25 grams of yarn left at the end, and my main colour skeins were 4-ounce skeins, so I don't want anyone to risk running out of yarn. So my main colour skeins were 435 yards per 4 ounces, and I think one of my main colour skeins was actually quite a bit over 4 ounces. So just to be safe, I don't want anyone running out, I'm going to adjust my numbers ever so slightly to get a slightly narrower wrap, which, to be honest, wouldn't be the worst thing. This thing is huge. It is so wide. And it also looks beautiful on the back, like the wrong side looks quite beautiful as well. It can be worn as a wrap. Pop it on. Or like a shawl, however you want to wear that. Or you could also fold it in half lengthwise. My hair's going everywhere. Fold it in half lengthwise and wear it as a scarf. Nice and snugglies. So I think this is a very versatile kind of shawl, because you can have it as a single layer or a double layer folded in half lengthwise, like I said. You can wear it as a shawl, you can wear it as a scarf. It would be it's a great sort of colourful layering piece. And there again, you can make it as scrappy as you would like. You could use, like I said, I used what was it, 10 20-gram minis. You could use 20 10-gram minis, or you could just use a different mini for every section, every color change. Or you know, if you have 2 main color skeins and a bunch of 50-gram skeins, and you could sort of mix and match how you do your color changes and stuff accordingly. Like, you can totally make this your own. I've done quite a colorful set of minis as my contrast colors, because why wouldn't I? Of course I would. But I think it would look really beautiful in like a gradient of neutrals, like from like a really pale grey to like a dark charcoal grey. I think like a really sort of monochromatic look would look lovely. Or like you could pick like a nice neutral background and then pick one color and have different shades of that color to get another kind of, you know, monochromatic type of look. Or you know, say like blue, green, purple sort of range, or go into the more yellow, orange, red range. You don't have to do a rainbow like I have. And mine isn't a true rainbow either. It's sort of inspired by rainbow. And yeah, it's so exciting. I'm really excited about this one. I still need to write up the pattern. I'm hoping to have this released sometime towards the end of March. Around the 20th is my aim at the moment. If I can get the pattern written up and tech edited soon, then that is what I'm going to aim for. I will put out a call for test knitters. Please don't contact me about test knitting like on YouTube or randomly, because I don't keep track. I can't keep track of messages like that. And I post on Instagram when I look for test knitters, when I'm looking for test knitters. So please follow me on Instagram. I am Knitting Expat there, if you want to be notified of when I'm calling out for testers. So that's the Changes shawl. I'm so excited by this one. It has been a while that since I've been so excited about design. Actually, probably my Mix and Match cardigan was the last one I was so excited about, but for different reasons. But in terms of shawls, this is one that I am absolutely in love with, and I know I will be wearing a ton because it is quite long, so it's going to be very versatile in that sense. And the best thing is, if you have small kids, it will double up as a blanket for a stroller. So, or as my mum said, it would work really well as like a runner at the end of a bed if you wanted to hang it off the end of your bed. I actually did take a picture of this hanging off the end of my parents' bed. They have a king size bed, but it's a UK king size, which I think is the equivalent of like a queen in the US. But it hangs over the edge of their bed, and so yeah, it's pretty big. I did block it quite aggressively, but that's generally how I block my shawls anyway. I tend to be quite aggressive with blocking. It is, because it is entirely based on stockinette stitch, which is quite different actually compared to a lot of other shawl designs, and these sort of big shawl designs. A lot of them are based on garter, because garter doesn't roll, and this doesn't actually roll that much once it's been blocked, but because it's been blocked quite aggressively, and you could block it less aggressively if you wanted to, but it does, I feel like it does better when it's been blocked pretty aggressively. And yeah, and I thought it was something different. Like, I've seen loads of multicolored shawls and designs and stuff out there, but I've not really seen anything quite like this. It's all over texture, all over different textures. It's not based in garter stitch, and yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun to knit. Even though it's based in stockinette, there's not a lot, it's not a whole ton of purling. There is some purling obviously, but there's not masses and masses of it. Your rows are relatively short for the most part. Like I said, the majority of the shawl, other than this section, is less than 100 stitches on your needle at any one point that you're working. And yeah, it's just really fun. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about that now, because I could just keep yammering on about this for ages. And yeah, let's move on to works in progress. Okay, so I decided to keep wearing it because why wouldn't I? It's so cozy. Anyway, works in progress. I only have 2 things to show you, and surprise, surprise, they're socks. I do also have another pair of socks on the needles, which is also for the sock club, which is out of Lolo Did It yarn. I actually have to rip those socks back because I need to make a change to the design element of the sock pattern. I'd written it up, and then as I was knitting it, I wasn't 100% convinced I was happy with how it was looking, and then I was just trying to talk myself into being like, no, it's fine, and then I'm just like, really isn't fine. So I just have to sit down and rip those back to the cuff and start that again, but I'll be doing that soon, hopefully. But like I said, I've got these 2 on the needles at the moment, so I'm not without socks. So this has been my vanilla sort of sock knitting, and this is another pair of Knit Picks for Lychee yarn. For Lychee Socks. This is in the Captain Nemo colorway, and I'm knitting these on high sharps, 2.25 millimeters. Again, I am past the heel. This is where my heel's gone in. Again, German short row heel with modified heel flap adjustment. And again with Lychee, and these two colors are very similar, so it just looks like one solid stripe. And yeah, these ones are pretty much matching. They're like 1 row out, I think, now at the top here, but yeah. They're knitting up nicely, nice vanilla knitting for when I'm out and about. Perry and I went to the theatre last night, and I was knitting on these on the way to and from the theatre. I didn't actually knit at the theatre, and it felt so strange not to be knitting. I was so fidgety. It was weird. It's been so long since I've actually been to the theatre. I don't think I've actually been to the theatre since I started knitting. No, I have been. That's a lie. But it's been a long time since I've been to the theatre, and it felt very strange not to knit, because I knit at the cinema all the time. And Perry actually asked me about that. He said, why don't you just pull out your knitting and knit? I said, well, there's people sat next to us, and specifically sat next to me, and I kind of feel like the theatre's a bit different than knitting at the cinema. Like, the cinema is really dark, for one thing. The theatre's not as dark, and secondly, I feel like people pay a lot more money to go to the theatre than they do to see a movie at the cinema. So I'm like, I would be annoyed if someone was sat next to me doing something that I found distracting. Like, I don't think necessarily it would be distracting, but I didn't want to distract anybody from enjoying the show because I'm sat there next to them, like knitting and like pulling yarn out and doing whatever. Because whilst I knit and my hands are fairly just close to me, you know, sometimes when I'm changing, especially with Magic Loop, like I'm pulling the needles out, like my arms do move out every now and again, and I could see how that would be distracting for someone sat next to me. So out of respect for everyone else around me and not wanting to ruin their theatre going experience, I didn't knit at the theatre. And yeah, it was enjoyable. We went to see Aladdin, but more about that later. Anyway, my other work in progress. This is another design for the New York, I want to keep saying the New York Sock Club, the 2018 Sock Club. And this is for the Wanderlust Sock Club. And this, I would say, it actually isn't, in my opinion, the most complicated pattern, but it's one that will require attention because you will have to be paying attention to the pattern when you knit it, because every row is different. And but it's not difficult by any stretch. It is a very simple knit purl texture, but I'm really loving how this one is knitting up. I'm knitting it out of Once Upon a Corgi on her me get the name right, Isaac base. So it's 100% superwash Polworth, that's her tag, in the Narnia colourway. I absolutely love this green. This is just like my perfect green. If I can get the colour, there we go, that's better colour representation there. And it's soft but in a rustic way, if that makes any sense. So my first time knitting with Polworth, and I really enjoy it. It's really, really nice. It feels sturdy without feeling like it's going to be really scratchy or anything. It's soft but sturdy. It's a good way of describing it. And so those are my 2 works in progress. They're both past the heels, so I will probably have these both done fairly soon. I haven't had a whole ton of knitting time recently with, honestly, Layla is so on the move now that it's actually really difficult to find time to just sit and do nothing. So even when I'm downstairs with her or anywhere with her and she's playing, I never know how long, you know, I'm gonna get to just sit down, and then how long I'm gonna have to be like playing with her, which is fine. She's my child and I want to spend time with her. So I tend to not worry about trying to knit anymore when I'm with her, and then I tend to use her downtime, like when she's napping or if someone's watching her or something like that, to then be able to get a few rows in here and there. So yeah, so not a whole lot of knitting going on right now. Okay, we will move on to acquisitions, and we'll just start right here then, shall we? So first up is this amazing bag by Thimble and Thread Make, the lovely Tracy. She kindly sent this bag to me just as a thank you for the podcast, and just because, and to do, I'm not actually sure if she asked me to do a review of it or not. She just wanted to send it to me, but I will give you a review anyway. This bag is amazing. It is a canvas cube bag is what she calls it, because if you can see from the bottom here, it is actually square shaped, which means you have a ton of space in this bag. This bag is currently holding 6 full skeins of yarn, 100 gram skeins of yarn, plus 5 50-gram skeins of yarn, and there is still space in there for more. I could probably fit more yarn in here, like there's still plenty of space in these corners. What's great about this as well is, especially when I'm designing, I tend to carry a notebook around with me, and the size of this bottom bit here means my notebook fits flat against the bottom of the bag, which is great. It just means it fits comfortably and I'm not having to worry about it getting like separated from my project. This bag has a couple of other really fun features, which I will tell you as well. It is drawstring. It opens up nice and wide so you can see everything in your project bag. It's got a pocket in the back here. And the other snazzy thing about it that I think is really quite ingenious, and probably the most ingenious part of this bag, other than its size being amazing, is you can see on my enamel pins on the front here, it has access to the inside of the lining in the corner here. So I can show you, you can pin your enamel pins to your bag and then have the pin backs on the inside of the lining, so you don't have any pin backs exposed inside your project bag. So when you've got your project in here, you're not risking your yarn catching or snagging on the pin backs that are, you know, behind here, which I thought was really, really clever and a really ingenious little touch, which I hadn't seen anyone else do. So yeah, so that was my first acquisition since I last recorded, or since I last did the vlog. And yeah, so thank you so much to Tracy for that. She does actually have a coupon code for you guys, which she included, I almost forgot about, in her card to me. So the code is Mina10. I think that's Mina with all lowercase letters is how she's written it here. MINA 10, and I'll try and remember to pop it on the screen for you. And that gives you a 10% discount in her shop. I happen to know that right now she's completely sold out of these bags. She did a pre-order and I think she's working on them now. I believe she said on Instagram that she is going to be relisting these bags for sale at the end of February. Or towards the end of February. Make sure you follow her on Instagram. She is Thimble and Thread Make on Instagram as well. There we go, that's her card. Thimble and Thread Make. I believe she also does like those like polymer clay charms and things as well, which are really fun. And yeah, so make sure you go and check her out if you want one of these, because they're amazing and they're huge. It actually housed my shawl project after I got it. I immediately popped it in there. So yeah, and I'm really loving my bag. Then the things that are in it, I will show you. I was contacted by a company called Darn Good Yarn, and they're based out of the state of New York in the US, and they work with sort of like empowering women and giving them work and things like in India, and they work with recycled, they make yarn out of recycled saris, out of recycled sari silk. So they sent me some to review and to do a giveaway with. So this is the yarn they sent me. So they sent 2 skeins of fair trade reclaimed silk waste yarn. So each skein is 150 yards per 100 grams, single ply, and it's made from silk that's from like old saris, I guess, that would have been thrown out otherwise. And how beautiful are those colours? Like really very, very multicolored. But it'd make a fun sort of like scarf or hat project. So this is great for someone who would have like a wool sensitivity and can't work with wool fibres. So this is an alternative, and it's also quite it's eco-friendly because it's recycling, and it's also not directly supporting the manufacturing of silk, which I know can sometimes be somewhat questionable with the methods used. And it is DK weight, I'm not sure if I mentioned that. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how this knits up, and to do a giveaway for one of these skeins. So we will see. I might actually, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do for the giveaway, but I'll have a think on that, and I'll probably post a giveaway for this soon. I'll probably do it on Instagram, I think. And the last yarny thing that I was sent, again, I posted this on Instagram, so you might have seen it if you follow me there. So lovely Annie from Knitting It Up contacted me about seeing if I wanted to work together on a design project, and I said absolutely. Well, at first I didn't have anything in mind, and so I was just like, okay, well, let me have a think about it. And then I went away and I thought about it and then I was like, I have an idea. So she dyed up some lovely yarn for me. So this is, I believe this is one of her regular colorways called Chasing Pavements. And so she sent me 3 skeins of this. It's on her Monkland base, which is a full ply sock weight, 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 437 yards per 100 grams. So really lovely, soft, squishy yarn. Then she sent me 5 50-gram skeins as contrasting colours, and I'll go through these one at a time. This is also one of her regular colourways called Suki, which is a Gilmore Girls reference. Then I think these next 4, I'm not sure if they're all going to be regulars or if they're all one-offs, but she has named them. These are all on the same base. So this is Lost Queen, lovely sort of greens and blues. Then we have Royals, which is this lovely royal purple. And then we have Melodrama, which is another sort of more, a warmer purple, I would say, with golds and reds in there. And then finally we have Electric Feel, which is also incredibly beautiful. So thank you so much for all of those, Annie. And then as a final treat, she chucked in a skein of Canyon Moon on her Hampton base, which is an 80-10-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon. And she said this was just for me to play around with. So we will see what this becomes. This is a really soft skein. I thought, I mean, her 85-15 is really soft, but this, the little bit of cashmere is very soft. So thank you so much, Annie, for those. So all of this fits in here with no trouble. And yeah, so really big bag. I will have all of these shops linked in the show notes as well for you guys. And finally, the last thing I received was a copy of Socks 2018, which is a digital publication by Making Stories, and they are that's Hannah, Lisa and Verena, who also released the Woods collection, or the Woods magazine, which I reviewed a few weeks back on this channel. And they also sent me a copy of Socks 2018, and they've also given me a copy to give away to one of you guys. So I'll also be hosting a giveaway for that at some point soon. That will probably be in the Ravelry thread. I will probably post a thread, so that will be in the Ravelry group, and I'll probably post a thread in there either later today or tomorrow, so make sure you check the group. and I will post a thread with a prompt, and all the details on how to enter will be in that first post. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be yet. Maybe, well, you'll have to check the thread to find out. But I'll probably leave that open for a couple of weeks and then announce the winner. And then we have knit-alongs and giveaway news. I have closed the threads for the Knitting Expat Designs knit-along and for the Sock Pattern Club for last year. And I have drawn those prizes, but I'm not going to announce them on the podcast today. I'm going to just do a separate video for that, probably tomorrow. And then I'll post it as a separate video for you guys. And then this year's sock club has already started. So the first month of the year, January, was the Wanderlust sock club, and that was the Rest Ferber socks. And I'll be drawing prizes for the first 2 months from the Wanderlust sock club at the end of February. Then at the end of March, I will draw from the Cozy sock club, that finished objects thread, and then like that, alternating months between the clubs as we go forward. Then for the Q&A thread, I believe I'm all up to date now on the Q&A thread. If you've asked a question and I haven't answered it, please ask it again, post it again in the thread, because I've gone through that thread a couple of times now and I'm pretty sure I've answered everything, but in case I missed it, please just post your question again. And if you do have a question for me, just please feel free to let me know. We do have a questions and answers thread in the group, and I just pop in there and check out the questions and answer some of them on the podcast. If any are time sensitive, I try to remember to answer them immediately or as soon as I can in the group as well. Okay, I think that's pretty much it in terms of the content, which I'm kind of glad because my throat is feeling quite sore. In terms of what I have coming up, since I finished this shawl, and this was like a big thing on my needles that was taking up most of my mental space, as it were, for designing, I have a couple of other things that I want to start cracking on with. I talked about wanting to do a hat collection for the New York Sock Club, and so I've started winding up the yarn. So I've got a couple of skeins from the Green Mountain Spinnery yarn that I got to get started. So I think this one was called Brick, I want to say, I might be wrong. Yeah, Brick House is the red, and this is on their DK base, the DK base. And all of these skeins are 2 ounce skeins. They're huge. They look huge because they're woolen spun and they're really lofty. And this one is called Grasshopper, and this is on their weekend. This is the weekend wool, so this is the worsted weight, and this is the DK. And yeah, I just love how this one's really not showing up accurately because it's so dark. Ooh, there we go, that's better. You can see the tonality of it. It's really beautiful, that colour. And this green is a really sort of vibrant grass green. So yeah, I'm really excited to get these cast on soon. And hats are great. I'm really looking forward to designing this collection of hats because I really enjoy knitting hats, and I think that they're really fun and quick fun projects to work on. And okay, so moving on to week in review. Layla is now 11 months old. She's going to be 1 year old in a couple of weeks. Honestly, I do not know where the time's gone. I can't believe that she's almost 1. She's already basically a toddler. She's not quite walking yet, but she's definitely very opinionated and definitely lets you know when she's mad about something. And she's just so much fun right now. It's like, we sort of chase her around and we're like, I'm gonna catch you or something, and she just like squeals and like starts giggling, and it's just adorable. Yeah, it's just she's figured out how to open the door in the kitchen downstairs, which has been fun because she keeps making a run for the stairs. She's obsessed with the stairs. She loves it. She's very good at the stairs now, so I'm not as worried about her going up them. It's just she can't get down the stairs, so I still, you know, someone has to still watch her in case she tries to come back down. I'm also trying to use Instagram stories more to sort of share a bit more day-to-day stuff with you guys, especially weeks when I'm not vlogging. Some days it works out that I use it more than others, and that's, I guess, normal, but I just thought I'd let you guys know. If you do want to keep up with what I'm doing day to day, then feel free to follow me on Instagram. I don't necessarily always post on Instagram every single day, especially this last month has been a bit slow on the actual Instagram posting front, just because I've been working on this shawl a lot and I didn't really want to share any pictures of it until it was finished, but I'm hoping to get some finished photos of it soon as well, so I will be able to share that with you guys. Then Like I mentioned earlier, we went to see Aladdin last night, so that was really fun. Perry and I have been trying to make the most of having live-in babysitters in the way of my parents, to make the most of going out and getting to spend some quality time together before things start to get a bit really hectic. Then like I said, he is traveling quite a bit for the moment for work. He's going to be going away again at the end of the week, and but he'll be back for Layla's birthday. I don't really talk about my husband's job on the podcast because it's not really relevant, and I only mention it in however it is relevant to our lives, and how, you know, it would be relevant in terms of this podcast. But so I just wanted to put that out there again. I know I've mentioned this before, but I'm not going to go into details about necessarily where he's going or what he's doing or what his job is. It's not really anyone's business. It's not really relevant, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And for anyone who's curious, our boys are doing perfectly well. Our cats, Hugo and Derek, are back in New York. They're being very well taken care of, and we get daily updates about how they're doing. And yeah, there again, I'm not going to talk too much about that. I've had some rather interesting, shall we say, conversations with people about this, but I firmly believe that we are doing the best thing for them right now, and I'm going to leave it at that. Then I've also applied and successfully received my US tourist visa, so I can now travel to the US as a tourist if you know, for a trip back. If if Perry's going to be back in the US for a work trip or something, then, and if Layla and I decide to join him, then we can. There's going to be no issues there. At the moment, we have no plans for a trip like that, but we will see if and when that will happen. And being back home in general has been quite good, actually. It's been interesting. It's been taking some time to sort of adjust and fall back into some sort of a routine with my parents and my brother, and everyone. Like, living in a multi-generational house has taken some adjustment, but it's been pretty easy, to be honest, so far. It's not been difficult, which is nice. I was worried that it might have been, but thankfully with the renovation there's actually a lot more space now in my parents' home, so it doesn't feel like we're really all living on top of each other, which is the important thing, I think. It's important that everyone feels like they have their own space, I think, as well. And yeah, I've been taking Layla to some soft play places and a couple of mother and toddler groups in the last couple of weeks, and she's been doing well. She's enjoying it. I think with the soft play, because it tends to be quite loud with loads of kids and stuff, she finds that a little bit overwhelming still. But overall, she's doing really well, and I'm looking forward to taking her to more of these things as well. So that's it for now, I think. I'm going to leave that there. I will probably... I'm not entirely sure how the schedule's going to go for the next couple of weeks, because I'll probably vlog next week. I might do a podcast the week after, but the week after is actually Layla's birthday week, so I'm not entirely sure if I will have time to do a podcast. I will try to do a podcast the following week, but we will see how things go. But yeah, I will probably vlog Layla's birthday weekend, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I don't think I have anything else to say. If there is anything that I've missed, I'm sorry. I will be back again with you guys soon. Like I said, I'll be vlogging next week. I'm not sure how much of the weekend I will vlog, of this weekend, but I will definitely start vlogging on Monday, if not the weekend. Depends what we end up doing. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to come hang out with me. And I will see you again soon. Bye.